Hi, it's the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your June 2017 general readings. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and welcome to any newcomers who may be with us for the first time. Thank you for all your likes, shares, subscribes, all your feedback, support, and comments. You guys are great. Keep them coming. Thank you also to my regular clients for your consistent feedback and how our readings continue to play out in your lives. And a special thank you always to those of you who continue to keep me so busy with personal one-on-one readings. It's an honor and a pleasure and a blessing to read for you, and I'm grateful for the trust that you place in me to interpret and intuit the cards for you. And if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me and you haven't read with me before, you can click on the About or Description button on my YouTube channel's homepage, which will give you a little more information and has my email address. You can email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. That's MAGGIE, the number 1, MCGUIRE. I would be delighted to work with you. Turnaround time currently for personal readings is anywhere from a few days, upwards of 2 weeks. But since I do readings full-time 6 days a week, I can usually get back with you pretty quickly and schedule a reading almost always within a couple of weeks. So if you're interested, send me an email. We'll go from there. I do love and romance readings, compatibility charting, career, work, and finance, year overviews, gift readings, channeled messages, and so on. So send me an email if you're interested. So moving right along, make sure to check your rising and your moon sign videos as well, because these are general readings and there's many of you watching, so of course they're not going to mean the same or resonate the same to the same degree for everyone watching. So try to watch all three just to get a more clear and cohesive picture of the time frame ahead as possible. I'm continuing to use the Gilded Tarot, and since we are doing the beginning of the month general readings, 2 cards for each week with an additional 9th card from the bottom of the deck for overall energy and advice, even though I am recording these at the end of May. So this reading is for Capricorn, the earth sign of Capricorn, for June 2017. Capricorn, June 2017. Let us see what is in store for Capricorn for the month of June 2017. Okay, Capricorn. We begin with the Devil, followed by the Ace of Pentacles. We have the 7 of Swords, followed by the King of Wands, the Empress, followed by the Fool, and the World, followed by the Hermit. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and advice is the Magician. My goodness, Capricorn. I thought some of the other signs had a lot of major arcana cards. I think you have the most. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 9 of your cards are major arcana cards. So strong sense of divine timing and orchestration and advice as well, because I feel like looks like a lot of you are struggling with a temptation of some kind, some up and down energy. And I feel like what I'm getting is that for some of you Capricorns, you're really considering whether or not to just bolt, leave a certain situation behind very quickly, very suddenly, and just go, kind of bolt, go off the grid. Interesting energy. So let's begin, Capricorn. We start with the energy of the Devil card. Kind of a strange glare of my just the lighting here. Oh, it's still there. Okay. The Devil followed by the Ace of Pentacles. So the Devil, major arcana card. This is a card, can represent a variety of different things, as most of the cards can. The Devil is primarily about imbalance. It can also represent a strong temptation of some kind, imbalance, too much attention and focus in one area to the detriment and exclusion of another, which can represent things like addiction, conventional addiction like alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, unhealthy relationships. It represents a situations, relationships, something that's out of balance, or a temptation for something, a temptation to do something which would put your life out of balance. It can represent excess, too much, again, fundamentally imbalanced, too much in one area, too much in one thing, or potentially too much in one area, which would bring the rest of your life out of balance. Now, it's paired with the Ace of Pentacles, earth energy here, which is the element which governs pentacles, and it usually manifests in kind of an earthly, concrete way. Typically things like money, finance, property, resources, assets. You can apply the same energy to love, spirituality, tangible results of the effort we put into things. Aces represent a beginning, a start, like the number one. They represent seeds, which if you plant them and take care of them, plant them at the right time in the right soil and take care of them, they will, grow and manifest and eventually flower and fruit and end up giving back to you. So it represents a new beginning, a new start that has a lot of potential depending on what how that potential is dealt with. So since this is the Ace of Pentacles, this is a pretty concrete new beginning, a tangible new beginning. The Ace of Pentacles often comes up for moving, relocating, starting a new job, which are all tangible new beginnings, a new project of some kind. And the Ace of Pentacles can also represent a sudden influx of money. And not always, but often that influx of money is attached to or money or resources, which would help enable a new beginning or a new start. So it looks like some of you, a lot of you, at the beginning of June, the end of May, perhaps are struggling with something. And what the specifics of that are going to vary because there's so many of you watching, and this is just a general reading. But the energy fundamentally remains the same. For some of you, this may be an outright temptation. It may be a temptation with another person. We do have an individual showing up here, the King of Wands. It could be someone you're already in a partnership with, or for those of you who are in a relationship or partnership, you could be considering, there could be, somebody that you're very strongly attracted to, a fire sign, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, because it's showing up as a King of Wands, a male or female. And there's this strong temptation to perhaps start over with them. Perhaps you're thinking of, there may even be some of you out there who are thinking of, running away with someone. Some of you, this energy of the Devil and the Ace of Pentacles could be that you're thinking of just moving quite suddenly, just leaving. Some of you, your residence where you're living. Some of you could be thinking of maybe going back and forth between quitting your job, starting over in that sense. Maybe taking a trip. Some of you may be struggling with an addiction or an imbalance already present in your life in the form of a substance or an unhealthy relationship or an unhealthy situation of some kind, and you are considering moving to get away with it, or you are in the process of moving or relocating in order to get away with it. So there's that kind of struggle, that back and forth energy at the end of May, beginning of June, Capricorn. Now, next to that, we have the energy of the Seven of Swords, followed by the King of Wands, which I feel is directly linked to whatever the situation is. Swords is air energy, which is the element which governs swords. It's energy that comes from up here. It's mental, cerebral, intellectual energy. It's about our words and our ideas and communication, how we communicate what we think, our belief systems and perspectives. It can also be about truth and clarity and illumination. Now, the Seven of Swords is sometimes referred to as the Thief card. It's a card that has often an underlying current of deception, slipperiness, things not kind of being always what they seem. It doesn't always have to necessarily reflect in a negative way. Sometimes we need to be, a little secretive or kind of off the grid in figuring out how to navigate through something or figuring out how to gather information. It can represent needing to be secretive about something as well. For some of you, this story is going to split. Some of you, you're considering doing, I just got that, those of you who are in an unhealthy relationship or situation, somebody's in a relationship where addiction is, a chemical addiction is a part of that relationship. That's very interesting and very specific. And you cannot stay and become healthy. So in order to get healthy, you're actually going to be leaving very suddenly without telling your partner. Very specific message there. So you're going to be having to keep, you're going to have to keep this kind of secret up until you leave or after you leave. Very specific message. And I'm feeling, and of course, logic would dictate this as well. Very good decision for you. You're making a decision in support of your own health all the way around. Wow. For others of you, this is, you're kind of struggling back and forth with this and you're keeping it secret. You're not talking to somebody else about it. For some of you for whom this may be a relationship issue, you may be tempted by somebody else, or you may be making plans to run off with somebody else, maybe even run off and get married of some kind, or it could just be that you're considering some new beginning with another person, or this King of Wands could be the other person that you're in this situation or relationship with. Again, I'm getting kind of almost barraged by a variety of different storylines, so it's going to vary. But that Seven of Swords is paired with the King of Wands. So here we have fire energy. That's the suit element. Fiery, dynamic suits, very action-oriented and forward-moving. It's also about change, movement, action, power, creative, manifesting energy. The King of Wands would be showing up as a male, but it's a general reading. There's a lot of you out there. It could be female as well. Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Very dynamic individual, as a lot of fire signs tend to be. Charismatic, very much a go-getter. Doesn't tend to rest on their laurels for very long. Typically a good leader. They're good at problem solving. They're good at getting the job done, or inspiring and delegating other people to get the job done. I feel like for a lot of you, there is for the relationship issue, there is some kind of strong temptation, back and forth energy with this King of Wands individual, be it male or female. There's for some of you who are considering, there's a temptation maybe to begin a relationship or begin an affair with this person. There's a lot of, I feel, a very strong kind of passionate energy between the two of you, which is really interesting. And for others of you, this is someone that you're in a relationship with. It's not a healthy relationship, and you're trying to get out of that. For some of you who are struggling with this relationship or situation and you're keeping it secret, you're keeping it hidden, you may want to consider sharing with a trustworthy person or seeking advice and feedback and guidance from somebody else. Again, it's going to play out differently, but the energy remains the same. It could be that some of you are in a relationship with this King of Wands individual, and you guys are going to be moving very quickly, almost like I'm getting in the middle of the night kind of issue. There may be some financial issues as well. Very interesting reading so far, Capricorn. However, there's positive there. I don't mean to make it all sound very negative. It does look like there's some challenges for a lot of you out there, but your overall energy is the Magician, which says that you have everything that you need in order to manifest and create the kind of situation, relationship, or pathway through this and away from this as well, for those of you who are in an unhealthy situation or relationship and are seeking to get away from it. So next to that, and it's echoed kind of in this beautiful combination of cards next to that, two major arcana cards, beautiful cards, the Empress and the Fool, my favorite card. Both of these cards are very strong, powerful cards about new beginnings as well. The Empress can represent new beginnings. She's often the green light for new relationships, new projects, a new move, starting over again, because she's about fertility. She is about that it's time to plant the seeds to start something which has a lot of potential to manifest and grow down the road, kind of like this Ace of Pentacles here, only stronger. It's a card about sensuality too. It can be a card of sensuality and of nurturing as well. For some of you, this combination of energy, I am getting a strong, the Empress has a lot of different nuances to what she means, but I am getting a strong energy of new beginnings, that it's actually time to start making plans, time to start taking the initial footwork for this new beginning. And I feel like for a lot of you, this is a physical new beginning. There is moving, relocating, traveling energy around it as well. Now that Empress is paired with the Fool, which is again a card of new beginnings, but it's actually kind of a card of considering what you're going to be doing. The Fool can represent that energy in between something coming to an end and before a new path has begun. It's about that time in between where you're considering the options and the possibilities, and they can sometimes sometimes seem, you know, limitless, you know, just considering all those options, kind of the breath before the first step. The Fool can also represent, you know, in order to achieve this new beginning, you may need to step out of your comfort zone, off of that well-trodden path, and take a risk or do something you've never done before. Perhaps, you know, breaking a pattern here, leaving to start over. Some of you, this leaving energy is necessary. It would be a good and positive thing. Some of you, it's not. It's more of an escapism, temptation kind of energy. And for those of you for whom that resonates, the Fool would be, I almost feel, cautionary advice as well, because the Fool can, you know, just kind of go off headlong without thinking or planning. Did he pack enough socks and take enough money for the journey? You know, looking in the pool to make sure there's water in there before you jump. The Fool can sometimes be a bit on the irresponsible side, because he's about each step, each day, each step of the journey, not so much in looking down the road and planning and foresight and all of that. So again, it really kind of depends on which group you belong to, Capricorn, for those of you watching. Because for some of you, it's a definite supported new beginning, and for others of you, it's you're being asked to take a step back and not do anything very spontaneous or impulsive, because it's stemming from this kind of unhealthy, imbalanced temptation energy or wanting to escape. Now, at or towards the end of June 2017, we have another powerful combination of two major arcana cards. Such a powerful reading, Capricorn. You're the third, I think, sign that I've done so far, and I think you're the seventh sign I've done so far for June that's had a variety, a large number of major arcana cards. Cancer was one. I think Leo was another, but I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Cancer was one. So at the end of the month, or towards that, time being somewhat fluid, as I always say, we have the World, great card, along with the Hermit, which can also be a good card as well. Sometimes the Hermit can mean, you know, isolation, being alone, and feeling lonely, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. The World is a card of reflection. It's a card of completion as well. It represents having reached an end or a big milestone. My analogy for the World card is that you've climbed a mountain and you've reached the top. You're at the pinnacle. That's what the World represents. You're on top of the world. You've reached the top of this mountain. And while you've climbed many mountains in your life, this one has particular significance. And the World card is about taking the time to kind of stop at this milestone place and look back and reflect on the path, what it's taken, how did you get from where you started to where you are today, and looking at that. For some of you, it's going to be a positive experience. It's like, kudos for you for having come this far. And for others of you, you know, particularly those of you who are in an unhealthy pattern, it's okay, how did I get here? How did I get from where I started to here? Taking a look at that and kind of figuring it out and picking out the high points and considering, where do I go from here? Taking all that information, going, okay, where do I go from here? What are my possibilities? What's the best thing for me to do here? Now, the World card is paired with the Hermit, which I'm feeling kind of this connective energy too, about contemplation and reflection. The Hermit can represent, again, needing to take a step back, needing to withdraw. Maybe some of you, particularly those of you who are still in a decision-making mode or are still struggling with, do I do this, do I not? I'm tempted to do this, but I haven't, you know, you haven't done it yet. The Hermit could represent advice about needing to take a step back and reflect, maybe needing to get away from people, you know, maybe pull back from being social, so you can really take a look at this and figure out what's the best path for you, because that's what hermits do. What do hermits do? Monks do, monastics do. They withdraw from conventional society or outside distractions in order to seek wisdom, to go within, to seek to get insight and clarity on something, which is what this aged man is doing. He's walking this narrow, dangerous precipice. He's using the light of this lantern to guide him by. That light is symbolic for his meditation, his intuition, his connection with the divine, and it also represents the accumulation of his life's knowledge, wisdom, you know, all the lessons he's learned, trial and error, because he's an older man. He's learned quite a bit. He's had a lot of life experience, and it's about using that to kind of help guide him, his life experience and his instinct and intuition, which is another way of saying your connection to the divine, listening to what those messages are as you're reaching kind of this point, stepping back. So I feel like for the majority of you, Capricorn, but particularly for those of you who are struggling with making a decision about something, or struggling whether or not to do something or not, I'm getting this strong, where they're going as a positive thing or going as a giving into temptation and escapism. I still feel like either way, we don't want to be too spontaneous and impulsive and hasty in this. It's about taking time to reflect, looking at everything, looking at the pros and cons, weigh everything out before you set anything into motion, because I almost feel like the judgment card should be here too. I almost feel like whatever you set into motion, you're not going to be able to reverse easily. So really take the time to think this through. But you can too. You're one of those wonderful earth signs, very grounded, and even though you can be stubborn and kind of flare up like we all can, you have this inherent grounded strength, this inherent realism about you. A lot of you do anyway, depending on what's in your natal chart, that I think is really going to serve you well through difficult decision making modes and trying to figure out your way, the best path through something, which is what it looks like June is really all about for a lot of you. Taking the time to kind of look at it over and make the best decision possible based on your experience, based on intuition, what you really know is the right path for you. Now, your overall energy is the Magician. This card says you have the ability to do it. The Magician is also somebody like the Hermit who's walked a very long path. He's very independent though, and he's very good at his craft. He's learned a lot from trial and error, experience, practice, knowledge, triumph and failure, success and defeat. He's learned from all of it. He's reached a point in his career and his craft where he can create and build and manifest whatever he wants because of his knowledge, wisdom, tools, and experience. It's about taking everything you know and all your experience internally and all your wisdom and your tools and using that in an external way to create and build and manifest whatever you want to, with very little, if any, help from anyone else. So it feels like more of an internal contemplative month, and that it should be no hasty decisions here because you may really regret it. So Capricorn, draw on that wonderful, grounded, practical, realistic earth energy and use your experience, and again, maybe confiding in and seeking out some feedback and advice from a trusted friend or mentor, advisor, or counselor of some kind. So Capricorn, that pretty much wraps up your June 2017 general reading. I hope you have, I often say I hope you have enjoyed it, but sometimes some readings are not as, happy, joy as others, and some of them are more, every month is a mixed bag for everybody, no matter what sign you are. So it looks like there is a fair amount of challenge, mostly internal struggle for you. So maybe I won't say I hope you've enjoyed it, but I hope that it has brought you some insight, some guidance, some clarity, maybe some food for thought on how to navigate through June. Don't go rushing headlong into anything, Capricorn. Very important. So I will see you all again. I am going to be continuing doing the short little love snapshots within the first few days of the month, due to the overwhelmingly positive feedback I got from posting them for the first time last month. So I will be doing those within the next week. They'll be out between the 1st and the 3rd, roughly. So I will see you all then. They'll be out, of course, before the mid-months. And again, if any of you are interested in a personal, tailored just for you, one-on-one reading, click on that About or Description button for more information. And please feel free to email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. And you can also find me through that same email address on PayPal for those of you who feel inclined to donate a couple of dollars in support of my channel. And thank you to those of you who have and continue to donate. It's part of what makes it possible for me to do what I love full time. So thank you very much for that. I will see you all again in probably within a week for the love snapshots. And until then, Capricorn, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.